It's Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2016. I am Robin Yellow, and this is Techtasm episode 17. Emily Maitlis does tech. And with me, once again, because nobody is free in this half-term week here in the UK, is Sir James Woodall.
Hello. I have to say I would rather be playing Overwatch. And you
with Emily Maitlis.
Exactly.
Yes, shut up about Overwatch. Pew, pew. Mindless video games there on James's mind. But for the next 30 minutes, we're going to be looking at Google Password, color e-ink displays, and another social robot. And looking at these and some other stories to see if they are Techtasms, which by our definition is a blend of tech for technology and tasm for phantasm, something that exists only in a person's mind. So without further intro, let's get on with the show. Mashable UK this week reported Google is killing the password, and it's coming to you later this year. Now, Google are planning to start testing the first version of Project Abacus with banking apps next month, and will make the tools available to every Android developer by the end of the year, the company has said. Now, Project Abacus, James, is part of Google's Advanced Technology and Projects, ATAP group. Their ambitious plan to eliminate passwords. How the heck are they doing it?
Off topic, isn't this the first time that we've ever seen an "and" as part of an acronym? That's just weird. I've never seen that. I've never seen that before. I was just wondering what does the second A mean? Oh, it's "and," clearly.
Yes, that's correct. What else would it be?
Well,
obviously.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy. And
well, otherwise it'd be "at."
Yeah, well, and
which would be pointless. Well, then they couldn't have a good acronym, so it'd be stupid, wouldn't it? ATAP. Sounds like some kind of Star Wars walker.
Definitely. Okay, so is it a Techtasm or is it real? Let's just jump in. No. In all seriousness, okay. This is really quite interesting. I don't get it, though. I mean, getting rid of.
You don't get it. Well, ATAP head Don Kaufman said during a session on the last day of I/O that he said we have a phone and these phones have all these sensors in them. Why couldn't it just know who I was so I don't need a password? I should just be able to work. Now, clearly, it's taking the sensor data from the phone, whatever that is, accelerometers, barometers, what's going on the screen, perhaps the shapes, the way you've been using it for the last half an hour, the cookies, I don't know, a load of data, and being able to say, well, this is Robin or this is James. Okay,
so it's not basically encrypting your password and using your fingerprint to decrypt it and sending it off to the app. They're actually using...
No, I think. So have you seen sometime, and I forget the name of it, there's this capture system, or reCAPTCHA, whatever it's called, yes, which knows that it's you. All you do is you press on the button and it does something in JavaScript, which looks at your browsing history, looks at what browser you're using, looks what IP address you're coming in on.
Actually, it's not that simple. It just works out if you're logged into Google or not.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well that would do it. I thought it was way more sophisticated.
No. Try it in incognito mode, and it asks you for the second.
Yeah, but it might not just be whether you're logged into Google. It could be whether you're logged into a variety of services.
I'm going to say it's probably not that simple, not that tricky, but
okay, fair enough. But either way, when you're using a computer device, you are moving it around in your hand, you're tapping on the keys, you're typing has a certain cadence and rhythm, and maybe these are the kind of things that will enable them to get rid of the second factor, to say, well, actually, the way this person is using this computer, be it a laptop or be it a phone, is consistent with James Woodall. Therefore, with a certain degree of certainty, I'm going to say with a certain degree of certainty, that's not really a sentence, is it? With some degree of certainty, they can say it's James. Yeah, and I think that's all it's trying to do, isn't it?
I think that's pretty good. I'd like to see a few of the details because, hey, banking apps need to be quite secure, I'm guessing. So,
well, apparently it's a new API called Trust API, which will be built into Android and allow people to tap into this second factor. Now, let's face it, if you're a bank, you're going to take anything you can to verify that you are who you say you are. And it's not to say, I mean, they're in a constant game of catch-up, aren't they? They'll develop this trust API, and then some hacker somewhere or other will find a way around it, but I don't know, is this an advance or is it just a Techtasm?
I think it's too early to say. I mean, the world of passwords has to change. I mean, there are not many people out there who follow password guidelines, which are use different passwords for every site, change them every 6 months, make sure they've got uppercase, lowercase, symbols, whatever. There's a lot of people who, in fact, I would suggest that 90+% of people in the world do not do that and use the same password for absolutely everything.
Yeah, well, that's true.
So I think that problem needs to be tackled, and who better than Google? So it sounds like a really worthwhile cause.
So you're going to hold and reserve your judgment on this one, James, until you get more information.
It is it's definitely a real. How they do it will probably confirm, it will solidify my real. It's a real. I just don't know why.
Well, I think we're moving into a world where, you see, the problem with having all these password schemes is that people end up writing their passwords down, and that becomes a weak point in the whole process.
I use LastPass. I recommend LastPass.
Or using LastPass, which is even worse, where there's only one place they have to crack and then they'll get everything. Can you imagine what happens when they hack LastPass? And let's face it, they're going to. So, I think if you create a valuable store of access information, people, bad actors are going to go after it.
Well, okay, what I'd say about LastPass is, as I understand it, it's secured with my password. If I lose my LastPass password, I've lost all of my passwords. They can't recover them. That's how they explain it. So, I don't know about... Okay, you're right. If somebody will try, they will, whatever. I'd still much prefer that to writing it down or having the same password.
Fair enough.
Okay. So, moving on. Devendra Hardawar, and I hope I said that correctly.
You did, Devendra Hardawar.
Fantastic, thank you. Do I get 10 points?
You do.
Fantastic. So, has written an Engadget this week that E-Ink, the maker of the displays inside things like the Kindle and so forth, have finally announced a colour screen. But wait, there's a catch. Now, people have been asking for colour screens on things like the Kindle for absolutely ages.
What is it? Just a quick backtrack there, James. What's the advantage of E-Ink over a regular mobile phone or tablet display?
Okay, so a standard LCD screen requires constant power to keep the screen alive, either in the form of, say, a backlight, or just each of those pixels are in fact mini light, so they need power just to keep going. E-Ink, you're effectively painting the screen, and then you can go to sleep. And the screen, they're pretty much permanent, actually. I found an old e-reader in the office a few weeks ago that hasn't been turned on for 4 years, and the screen is still saying the same thing that it was when it last switched off. So the power savings,
low or zero power consumption in a single state.
Absolutely.
When it's got a page on it. Yeah.
Now the downside is, and certainly with these new color ones, it can take 2 seconds to refresh the display. I mean, we're not talking 60 frames a second here or whatever your TV gets. 2 seconds per refresh. That's 0.5 frames a second. However, these screens are not going to e-readers, oddly enough. They're going to 20-inch in-store signage displays, the kind of thing you get behind Burger King or McDonald's telling you about the New York stack. So, which, by the way, I haven't tried the Tennessee stack yet. I must do that before it disappears. Oh,
that's the new McDonald's hamburger.
Yes. That's
just come out in the American range.
Yes. I don't know how American it actually is, but hey, anyway.
Of course it is. It's from America, therefore it's American.
Oh, okay. So anyway, this new type of screen, this E-Ink screen, they're calling it the Advanced Color E-Paper, or ASEP. See, did you like that?
Nice.
It's on its way out.
Who is actually making this? Is there a company behind this?
Yeah, E-Ink is a company.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I just thought e-ink was a thing.
No. In fact, the thing, a bit like Hoover and vacuum cleaner, right? The thing is called e-paper. Okay, and the company is e-ink, and they're the guys who I guess they pioneered this thing with all the various different displays. The Amazon Kindle's probably the largest known user of these displays, but they are used in a few other things. But it's really interesting. What I don't get though is why they're not pushing this towards the e-readers. So it just sort of.
Well, what does it add if you're actually reading a book or you're reading some content? What does color actually give you? Yeah, you could put photographs in there, but I would imagine that this technology is more expensive than the black and white one.
True. Yeah.
Probably. And therefore, actually, if you're looking at digital signage in a store, well, that's the professional market. You can charge whatever you like.
Yeah, this is true. Very true. And I can certainly imagine inside like a fast food restaurant or whatever, those screens in some stores certainly don't update very often. So that would make perfect sense.
I don't think we'll ever get into a fast food store, though, because actually when you're in there, they want it bright and sassy. They're using LED or LCD screens, aren't they, right now, because they want it bright and in your face. The fact that it uses 50 watts or whatever won't bother, your average fast food store. But I suppose if you've got some kind of signage, well, even then, you go to Marks and Sparks, they're not going to care either. But it could be that these screens could be, you could actually deploy an image onto it remotely. So you could have a power actuated RFID, which gives enough power to the panel so that it can put the color image on it, and then you could remove the power source. Do you know what I mean? Using induction or coils.
I mean, you could do it like you could treat it almost like wallpaper or whatever. So you can have more displays around the store with offers rather than having posters that you have to change or whatever. And if they can refresh every 2 seconds, then you can get some basic animation. They just changing between frames or whatever.
Can I call this one?
Yeah, please do.
It looks like a Techtasm to me. It looks like a technology looking for somewhere to go. And while, e-ink, I did get it. It's, everyone had an e-ink reader and all this, e-paper reader, like the Amazon Kindle. But they're kind of on the wane a bit now. I see people going back to books now and stuff like that. And also from the look of the image on this article, the colors look a little bit washed out.
Yeah, true. Hey, let's just wait and see. I mean, that's the thing with these technology companies, right? They've got to make it, and if you build it, they might come.
So, indeed, they might.
Well, yeah. Okay, well, moving on. Devendra again at Engadget. We do like him today. Will he be...
Devendra Hardawar, nice one.
Let's just see. Now, he's reporting in a separate article, and I think we talked about this last week or the week before, about the... Oracle versus Google trial regarding did Google copy Oracle's Java, which of course it was Sun at the time. But
well, the results come out now.
It has, and Google won. And I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting the jury to come back so quickly. It kind of felt that the trial...
Oh, it was the 2 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the whole trial kind of came and went really quickly. You think of trials that go on for months. This one, I don't think it was even that long. But what's really interesting about this is... And this has got a bit of a checkered kind of history, really. Oracle first sued Google back in 2010, and then a jury ruled in Google's favour in 2012. A federal court reversed the decision in 2014, and now the decision's gone back in Google's favour again in 2016. And of course, Oracle have said they're going to appeal. I mean, this is cat and mouse epic style.
Well, they've... thank goodness they won. They came back. They don't have to pay a penny. I thought they would have to give some consideration. I thought money would change hands, even if they didn't win it outright. But they have actually ruled on it now and said it was fair use.
Yes, which is fantastic for developers and techies worldwide. But it's not over because, hey, Oracle are going to appeal.
Can they appeal? Is there anywhere else for them to go?
I think they can.
They can now go to the Supreme Court, can't they? Because the Supreme Court in the United States batted it back to a lower court. The lower court had the jury trial. The jury said no, but their appeal could now go to the Supreme Court.
Oh, well, that's just absolutely crazy. I mean, I shudder to think the amount of lawyers that are buying new Ferraris now because of this. I mean, that is just... the legal fees must be astonishing. But hey, it's not the end of this. Yeah, let's see what happens in the Supreme Court. However, great victory for this. And for Android users everywhere, really, because, their beloved Java can live another day, which is...
Certainly can. Yes, nice one. Well, CNBC, a little bit off the beaten track, James, this one. CNBC's Maggie Fox reported that there is possibly a cell phone link to cancer. Now, a new rat study has started the age-old debate of whether cell phone signals cause medical problems. And a giant US study meant to help decide whether cell phones cause cancer is coming back with confusing or contradictory results. Now, it suggests that male rats exposed to constant heavy doses of cell phone radiation develop brain and heart tumors, but female rats don't. And even the rats that develop tumors lived longer than the rats not exposed to the radiation.
What?
Yes. So let me just go over that again, right? Female rats didn't get cancer, and the male rats that did develop cancers, tumors, lived longer than rats not exposed to the radiation. So, were they just getting cancers and tumors because the rats were old?
Wow.
Because it says they were living longer. So that's a bit confusing, isn't it, really? Now, previous studies have had very mixed results. One study found that holding a mobile phone next to the head might warm up the brain cells, but there wasn't any clear consequence of that. Now, for the experiment, the lab, which is in Chicago, generated 900 megahertz cell phone signals in the GSM and CDMA. I think that's an American system.
Yeah.
CDMA radio system, which are the two major systems used by cell phone providers. And these cardiac schwannomas were observed in male rats in all exposed groups of both GSM and CDMA, while none were observed in the controls. And this is a type of heart tumor, this cardiac schwannoma. And it concluded that the findings were strong enough to suggest that radiation exposure caused the tumor in the males. So very, very complicated story and confusing feedback, but I think ripe for Techtasm.
Yeah, I mean, well, this debate has gone on for a long time. I remember when you couldn't have a mobile phone in a hospital, or it would affect a aircraft navigation system, or this feels to me like we're never going to know the answer to this particular one. Well,
I think the answer is there's no link, and people are still trying to establish one, and it makes great news.
Is it in the Daily Mail?
It's CNBC. I don't know where that sort of sits in the trustworthiness scales, okay. But it has got the sort of NBC logo in there. So that's a major US network, isn't it? Yeah. Sort of like BBC.
I don't know how respected NBC is for real news. I mean, it's definitely not the No Spin Zone. Or as it was
it's
known,
definitely not Gawker.
As the No Fact Zone. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was interesting that they tried once again, but fundamentally it comes down to this. They observed that these male rats were developing tumors, but they lived longer than rats not exposed to radiation. So it could be they both have a trouble-free life for the same duration, but the cell phone signals make them live longer, and in that period of living longer, they get tumors.
Yeah, wow.
Which is bizarre.
I don't... this is a Techtasm, isn't it? I mean...
It's a load of old Techtasm, isn't it? Yeah, it's just trying again, try. It's like, if you keep asking the same question over and over again, it's not cause and effect here, guys. If no effect can be demonstrated, then there is no cause and effect. And the fact that people just keep coming back to this one over and over again, just... Well, I suppose it's human nature, isn't it?
It's just like if you ask a solicitor for an opinion, they're going to give you an opinion.
You keep giving you an opinion. And politicians, they're even worse. Wow. They'll give you the different opinion every time.
Yes, very
Brexit, no Brexit. How many millions of pounds are we going to save by leaving the EU? How many millions of pounds are we going to gain by leaving the EU?
Yes, exactly that.
We're in the throes of the Brexit debate, dear listener, at the moment in the UK, where we're looking at whether we're having a referendum, aren't we, on the 23rd of June? Make sure you go out and vote.
I did see a video of Lord Sugar saying why we should stay in, and although I agree with what he was saying, it felt a bit scripted, and then I thought maybe he let the side down.
Look, it's as scripted as Matt LeBlanc in the new Top Gear.
Oh dear, I have to say, having watched that on Sunday, I really enjoyed the Matt LeBlanc pieces. I couldn't stand the Chris Evans pieces.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually, but I do worry whether he could do anything without a script in front of him. And then, do you know, it struck me that we knew that Clarkson, May and Hammond were reading from a script, but we just didn't want to admit it. They did it in such a good way, in such a way that you didn't think they were reading from a script, but were deep down, somewhere dark in the back of your brain, you knew that it was scripted. You just didn't want to admit it. And I think the thing about Matt LeBlanc, he is not believable that he would say those things off the cuff, ad lib. We know that it's been scripted because he's made his career as an actor, not as a journalist.
But there was a story earlier today that said that the early episodes of the last season of Top Gear were also quite awkward when, Clarkson, Hammond and May were kind of getting to know each other as well. So, maybe we just need to give it a bit of time, I don't know.
Yeah, you could well be right.
Well, okay, moving on to what we're supposed to be talking about. Good old Ron Amadio, everyone's friend.
Yeah, Ron.
Yep, everyone's mate Ron. We've all got a mate called Ron.
Or young Ron.
Young Ron, definitely now.
Or to do Ron. Ron.
In Ars Technica, I'm ignoring you. In Ars Technica this week, my favourite website, Google are trying yet again to sort out the Android fragmentation problem. And for our listener, the fragmentation problem is that Google dish out Android to OEMs, they're LG, Samsung, HTC, and so forth, and they give them Android to embed into their own phones. And what people do is to give a little bit of flavour and tweak and whatever. They add their own style, let's try and be nice, to Android, and they ship them out as phones that we all know and love. The challenge comes when Google issue an update to Android, which they do fairly regularly, I suspect. Some of these OEMs don't always update the phones. And for features, okay, you can probably say, okay, well, that's fine. But when it comes to security updates, that becomes a bit of a problem. Now, on the flip side, Apple are in control of their own phones. So when an update comes out, the iPhones get them straight away and nobody gets involved. And with Android, that doesn't happen. And just to further complicate Android, sometimes the carriers get involved in the updates as well. So a phone on a certain network, you may be at the mercy of the network to update the operating system as well. So what Google is proposing is that they shame the worst offending OEMs. Now, what do you think about that?
Oh, no. That's commercial suicide. You cannot bite the hand that feeds you. Ultimately, the Android project is about getting as many copies of Android in front of as many people as possible, so they use Google services for searching, ultimately for searching for AdWords. Now, the problem is if you start shaming people for not updating to the latest version, they could get upset by that and they could move over to, hold on a minute, James, there's nowhere else for them to go. I've just realized this will be a perfectly safe strategy because there is no other OS they can use.
Well, exactly. I mean, Tizen's pretty much died.
Yes. But so Tizen, Samsung wouldn't let anyone else use it anyway.
Yeah, WebOS now is purely and safely in the realm of TVs, and it looks like Microsoft have pretty much given up on Windows Phone for consumers. So Google's pretty safe in this. I think the really interesting statistic in Ron's article is Android 6 Marshmallow is 7 months old, and it's on 7.5% of devices. I mean, that is a shocking statistic. I'm sure that you're on Marshmallow because...
Yes, well, I run Nexus, of course, which always gets the latest. So, yes, I have it. But also, you've got to remember that Marshmallow, in terms of its look and feel, isn't dramatically different from Lollipop. And therefore, actually, if you're a phone manufacturer and you had to go through... Because ultimately, these... Samsung has got a lot of shovelware and Samsung bloatware and Samsung look and feel and TouchWiz. It's got to do a lot of work to test a new version of the OS, to completely regression test it. And therefore it doesn't want to do it if it doesn't add anything to the user. So thinking about their customers...
Thinking about the security updates and the support updates and the stability updates, there's a lot more to an OS.
Oh yeah, no, there's stuff under the hood, don't get me wrong. And clearly, Marshmallow is actually better than Lollipop. You can tell it does a lot of things a lot better, and it's got a lot more sophisticated support. But in terms of user experience, which is really what a phone manufacturer is selling, it's not that different. It's a smartphone. You turn it on, it gives you a day's worth of battery. You tap on icons and things happen. The average user, Samsung user, isn't going to care what's under the hood particularly, because actually the experience, if it is changed, is completely hidden by TouchWiz anyway.
Yeah, but think about the developer experience, though. I mean, by having such wide fragmentation, you're really stinging the developers who have to test every possible permutation of Android, because it's so hard to get it right for Android. I mean, I'm looking here at the iOS statistics. 84% of iOS devices are using iOS 9.
Yes, well, there's no reason not to go to iOS 9 because there's only one bit of hardware, isn't there?
Yeah, but what that means, and if you include iOS 8 in that, that's 95% of iOS devices are using iOS 8 or 9, active iOS devices.
Yeah, so correct.
From a developer's perspective, you can use the latest and greatest stuff.
I understand it. Yeah, it's all about the developer experience. So this strategy of shaming the vendors that don't update the quickest, I don't think is going to resonate with the public. I think it's legitimate to do it, because there's nothing else. You can piss these manufacturers off. There's nowhere else for them to go. You can do that, but I just don't think it's going to resonate with the public. They're going to go, Marshmallow, Lollipop, what the hell is that? I don't care. Because maybe the reality is it makes no difference.
Maybe they should stop calling them silly names then. I mean, I don't think anyone cares that it's iOS 9. It's just Apple says, here's an update, and off you go and get it. Although, just as a different strategy, what the author is suggesting in this article, and this is a suggestion as I understand it, is by hurting the OEMs in their pocket, because the rumors and the reports are that Google has an ad sharing revenue stream with the OEMs and the carriers. So for any adverts that appear on an Android device, whoever sold it to you gets a bit of that back. So what the author, Ron, is suggesting is take a dent out of them. If you're signing up for the ad revenue deal, then say, well, you got to keep at least, no more than 2 updates behind. Otherwise, we'll start taking some of your cash.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough, and Google can do that. And as I say, I think that's a strategy to make the Android offering better to the market. So they are the right people to do it.
Because I'll be honest, it's irrelevant, no offense to the users out there, whether a user likes the idea of Marshmallow or not, or whatever. It's not important to the user. The phones, as they contain our entire lives, should be secure, and it's Google's responsibility to do that. So this is a real, I hope.
Agreed. Agreed. 100%. Have we got time for one more, James?
Yeah, we do. Come on, let's do it.
Okay. Well, The Guardian this week reported through Samuel Gibbs, meet Zenbo, the Asus robot.
Okay.
Now, this Asus has unveiled a little home robot called Zenbo that can talk, control your home, and provide assistance when needed. I'm falling asleep while I'm reading this. Now, this £410 robot, that will not be the cost when it hits the street, but it's $599. Rolls around on 2 wheels, and it's sort of in the shape of a sphere, isn't it? Like they describe it here as a vacuum cleaner ball. with a camera on an oblong head pointing out of the top with a color touchscreen displaying a face with emotion. So it looks like a little cute robot, the kind of thing that you would see in that Disney movie WALL-E. It's capable of independent movement, can respond to voice commands, and has entertainment protocols for keeping kids amused and home care systems to look after your elderlies. Now, Zenbo will remind or can remind older owners of doctor's appointments or medication schedules, and can monitor the home for emergency situations such as a fall. Another toy, or is this thing got some legs?
I don't know.
It's got wheels. It hasn't got legs.
Yeah. Why?
I think, if I was going to write a review of the Zenbo, that would be it. Just why?
Look, companies need to innovate, and that's great. If they're pitching it to compete with like a Amazon Echo or a Google Home, and maybe this is a topic for next week, Apple's upcoming entry into that particular market. Asus, really?
Well, I don't think they've got the chops in services to do anything which can compete with Echo or Home. Because I think that's what it isn't just about understanding what's being said to it. It's having the back-end services to make sense of that. And I think they're providing an API, or they're opening up an API for developers to use the features of the phone and connect to those back-end services. So we'll see. And there is actually a robot already on the market called Pepper, which I think it's only available in Japan, which is very close to what this is. But the Pepper's got articulated arms and sensors and a screen mounted on its chest.
But SoftBank are a carrier. I can see the use of that. They've got the direct customers. But do you know anybody who says, "Oh, I'm really going to buy the latest Asus laptop"? I don't think they have that kind of brand. I think they're just a bit of a Me Too brand, aren't they?
Well, they've got some Chromebooks, but yes, they're a kind of Me Too brand. And obviously, I think they're looking to differentiate themselves. They're seeing robots on the way for entertainment and for home. They're seeing a new market arising. We're seeing HTC moving into VR. These companies are diversifying away from laptops because it's become a massive commodity business with little or no profit in it, in the case of HTC, who obviously make phones. And it's just, a phone is just another black slab, and a laptop's just another laptop. There's very little to differentiate. Look at the failure of Toshiba and other companies to actually spot that. So I think as an experiment, Zenbo is what they have to be doing. As a product, I am unconvinced.
It's Techtasm. Massive Techtasm.
Well, that is it for this week, James. We hope, dear listener, you've enjoyed it, and you can find us at facebook.com/Techtasm. Subscribe on your favourite podcatcher, or contact us at feedback@techtasm.com. We record every Tuesday at 2100 BST GMT, so watch out for next week's episode. This is me, Sir Robin Yellow.
And me, James Woodall.
Asking the question, is it real or is it just a Techtasm?